All right, welcome to the BP community meeting, where I guess we discuss all things FIO, hey, FIO chain related and all the projects and activities around that. So today the agenda is fairly simple. We'll see how long it runs. And obviously at the end, we always open it up to general questions from the BPs or anything else we should be discussing. But I was just going to go through, as I usually do, the development pipeline, what we have coming out. Obviously, you saw some of the testnet MSIGs coming out for staking. We'll discuss that. There's some Pavo. We can review stake. I think we did review stake. I think I was discussing with Pavo in the past, but if there's any kind of questions on what that looks like, we can answer those. Or Pavo could go through another brief overview if that would be helpful. There's some question. He has some questions about some upcoming Fips as well, or at least wants to get your attention on those. And then we have a larger kind of, excuse me, stepping back, we have a larger project that we're undertaking. I guess it's more of a framework for projects, and we're calling these the infrastructure projects that we're getting underway and have been developing, and we'll be rolling out kind of our Q4 dev focus. But obviously, if there's anything else on the agenda, we can add it as well. Any questions on that? All right, let me share my screen, and I'll just start with an overview of the roadmap here. All right. Let me know if you cannot see my screen here. So this is just out on our the development wiki out there, fiaprotocol.atlassian.net. I think most of you've been in there at some point or another. It's where we post all our documentation. So as I mentioned, staking is what's coming out right now. I'm going to go through that a little bit more because that's one of more complex releases we're doing in terms of how we're releasing it. It's kind of our first release with the new system contract, which is just it required a lot more testing. Staking itself is a very complex project. And then the rollout's going to be a little more complex. So I'll be going back and forth, I assume, with a lot of MSIGs there that Bowden's been rolling out. So we're targeting to get that out this week into testnet as much as possible. We have multiple MSIGs, but we're getting close. I know the first round has been approved, and then we'll be pushing out. We have to get those approved and executed before Bowden can create the second group of MSIGs there. We want to have that in testnet for about 3 weeks. So I have that targeted around mid-December to really, if we think about doing the MSIGs, maybe that second week of December and executing on the 13th. So again, I'll try not to execute on the 24th of December on a Friday, though I'm tempted to do that. Any questions on staking there? I could flip over to kind of why this is looking, and any feedback would be appreciated on staking. So I'm going to skip around, I guess, a little bit. So what we've pushed out are, and Ed, who was our lead on this, put together this list. This is how we tested it in DevNet and how we're rolling it out. Obviously, we always kind of do these new actions. There's a lot of new actions coming out. Again, I won't get into too much detail on the staking, and we have to push out those add actions to get those into the list before they're usable. Just one of the security precautions we have on the chain there. And then they create new fees with these default amounts. So there will be some new fees you'll have to add to the stake FIO tokens and unstake FIO tokens to your fee scripts, whatever those are. And then the second contract that Bowden created was the deploying of the initial system contract. This has to be in place, as does this kind of creation of the new staking contract and account, before we can do some of the later MSIGs. So those top three are what just got approved. We'll be executing those probably in that order coming up here, maybe after this meeting. I might grab Todd, and we usually kind of monitor it in real time there and roll that out. And then the next set of MSIGs will come out. It pretty much updates hits every contract in the system. So we do have a bunch of future contracts that we'll be rolling out as well. Any questions on that or thoughts on that rollout? I was always wondering, like, can we roll out, if we roll out just the system contract, what impact does that have? And I kind of reviewed that contract to make sure that was safe, but generally seems like an okay tactic. But I'd love any feedback on that process. Or I will roll on. All right. So that's coming out there. In the meantime, we've gotten to dev complete, or I shouldn't say we did, Thomas and Verbis did. and the team on the domain marketplace, marked as a community project. This is a place where you can go interact and trade on domains. I think Thomas has posted that link out to the channels. If not, you guys should get out there and play with that as well. Give feedback, though that is getting towards release time as well. Thomas did initial testing and is doing, I think, some final performance testing before that rolls out. So that'll be fun to get kind of our first domain, community project out there. One item with that is that requires a new contract as well. So we'll be going through this process again and hopefully have ironed that out with staking. P network. So we are trying to get integration with the P network on so we can wrap tokens. I guess it'd be PFIO. Correct me if I'm wrong, Pavel, on that onto the network. We're working on getting that into this release as well. Casey is the lead developer on that. We're getting that into QA and should be wrapped up. I have these in January right now, assuming I always assume it's going to take longer than I think to get stuff through the release cycle there, though I believe these will be dev complete and pretty well tested by early December. So this kind of includes the release cycle as well. There are some other Fips in there. I didn't know if you were going to go over those, Pavo, later, so I can skip those now, but if not, we can come back to those. So we have this Fip to retire FIO tokens, one to just do a little bit of support for Lightning request, and and these are just small changes that require some updates to field sizes and things like that. And then this is an ability to create a dollar sign in the token codes for like add address and things like that. So what else do we have going? Lots going on, actually. It's a lot going on. We're in a kind of a big release cycle right now, having just released the NFTs. And I don't know if anyone is going to give an update on how that went with that rollout, but we just did the NFT signing, and now we have all these other things rolling out. Dashboard, again, I have that targeted. We did an 0.9 to support some NFT signing, and the dashboard is a website that essentially allows you to come in and use all the different FIO functionality in one place, right? It gets hard when you're redirecting everyone to either a wallet that may not be fully feature complete or an exchange that may not have everything. So we kind of wanted to create a dashboard where you could go in and also be useful to be able to do certain functionality. So if a wallet doesn't want to include it, they could push a user to a dashboard to do that. So we're calling that the dashboard 1.0, targeted for January. Though, again, I will post out as well. We do have a staging and test stuff out there, and I'll always be glad to get feedback, and I'll be pushing that out. We have the wrapping project, which we have discussed in the past. These are at dev complete and in QA, and it's really a matter of figuring out when we're going to have to loop in some of the BPs, as I discussed before, get you up and running with the Oracle software and kind of work out the issues there. We're getting very close to starting that up. My guess is we'll be pulling the Oracles in December here to start discussing that one, but that's upcoming as well. Again, dev complete, future stuff. Hey, FIO, we've been discussing as another community project that I think that's coming out in December, so I might need to bump that up ahead of these other ones, which is fun to see. I actually just went out and tested that one the other day. I love to see that. EOS IO 2.0. So then there's, another one, Ledger support. One of the things we are working on is Ledger support for FIO. The initial piece of that will be just for token sends, FIO token sends. And we are having to get Ledger kind of approval. We will be doing a beta site where it integrates with our dashboard. But again, that'll be useful outside of the dashboard as well once we release that. But the timing on that is TBD because we don't know how long that approval process will take.
Although it's worth mentioning that the actual Ledger app has already been developed. So we've just seen the demo of it the other day. It looks pretty cool. You can actually now connect that to the version of the dashboard and actually send tokens. So now it's just a matter of getting it approved by Ledger so that it can actually be publicly available to everyone.
Awesome. Yep. Thanks, Pavo. You're right. Another dev complete one that we just need to get rolled out. So a lot of exciting stuff. Any questions on any of that from anyone? Right on. So the last piece, just in terms of roadmap, was that infrastructure. This EOS IO 2.0 is what we've been kind of the big piece of that we've been working on in the past here that Adam is a lead developer on, that is the upgrade. We're still on, as you guys may notice, having to install it all the time, an older version of EOS.io. So this is, we're all in on this upgrade now to the latest. Excuse me.
Is that incorporating all the latest 2.0 framework? I mean, I know it can't be obviously everything, but like 2.1 and, you know, I think there's 2.2 that's RC, but I ask because there are some bug fixes which may or may not be EOS USA related in them.
Yeah, I mean, it should be the latest. Is Adam on? Do you have comments on that, Adam? Oh, Adam's on. But yeah, no, it'll be the latest. In fact, that 2.0 probably just reflects how long this has been on the board there, because I created that probably 12 months ago. So yeah, it should.
Well, and like I say, I mean, I know there has to be a cutoff. You know, I mean, you can't start your testing and everything and keep adding more stuff. But
no,
I'm just curious as to where it might have had the cutoff for personal reasons.
Yep. No, we haven't even done that cutoff. Still in development, but so that means we'll be still upgrading to the latest there.
I heard 2.2 apparently is still pretty unstable and buggy, so I guess you'd be going to 2.1 ideally.
Yeah, like I say, 2.2 is still RC, I think, but it's some of the peer-to-peer comas that you'll see EOS USA have where a node will kind of go off into la la land. I think 2.1 actually had some of those rolled in. So that's why I asked, but I know that it may be 2.0, maybe 2.0.12 or whatever the last one, 13. So I was just curious if you knew how late that cutoff was, or maybe they are still adding in bug fixes until it cuts off.
Yeah, no, we haven't cut it off yet. So we'll probably go with the latest. So if that's 2.1, we probably won't go with 2.2 then, hearing that. But 2.1, whatever the latest is, and once we make that cutoff, we'll let you know kind of what's in and what's out.
Yeah, I would say on that, just keep us in the loop. You know, as you guys are running the nodes, you're the closest to EOS.io as far as its latest development. So once you feel that 2.2 is stable, definitely let us know.
Well, and I'll also say, I don't remember where it was, if it was 2.1 or 2.2, and Cece, I think, is probably the best person. I think he was the one that picked up on it. They changed the way the state history spewed out data or something like that.
Yes, there wasn't 2.2. Yes.
Oh, 2.2. Okay, I can't remember where exactly it was, but there's a version that's coming that dramatically changed the way the ship nodes presented data, and it's potentially causing some problems for some people.
Yeah. Yeah, we also had some problems there with 2.2. We are running it on some nodes. Still monitoring. It's all right, but it has bugs. And yes, there was one breaking change for a ship, so we're not using that there. But yeah, 2.1 is the latest stable one that I would recommend.
Awesome. And we will be doing dedicated meetings where we're going to be pulling in whoever's willing to attend from the BP community to talk about those. I know Adam's been piling up the questions there, so we will be having those probably starting into December. That's a big one. Some of the other items just to review, and again, I won't go into too much detail, but things that have been on the plate or we've talked about a lot in the past and we either need to address or make the decision not to address, things like about how we do our ABI updates, kind of the ABI generation. We do a lot of manual updates of our ABIs right now, instead of the auto generation. We're going to be doing larger performance analysis. Obviously, we do performance analysis on features as we roll them out, but here we want to do this really big scalability performances, country size scalability performance analysis, and see what we get to with that. This will then educate us on how we may or may not want to move stuff in or out of state that I know Pavo has been looking into and thinking about, and we will be thinking about more. So performance and state management, what moves into the log, things like that. Just some more, maybe I won't call it nitty gritty, but maybe nitty gritty support for like PubK1 type key formatting. Other things like how do we move ourselves closer to EOS.io architecture in terms of updates? Right now, it can be a complex merge process and upgrade process. How do we simplify that? How do we maybe move some of our stuff out of certain locations and into maybe some more plug-in type mentality for some of the chain pieces as well. How do we make it easier to add API endpoints without having to do necessary upgrades all the time? I mean, I know you guys have been great about, rolling out the 3.1s and the 3.2s and things like that with those API updates, but how can we make that easier possibly in the future as well? And future ESI upgrades so we don't fall behind again. So a lot of questions, a lot of stuff where we're going to have to be digging in deep with this community here, I think, during this process, because you are definitely the experts on this one, and having gone through those upgrades, we'll have to lean on you. All right. That is all I had. Pablo, do you want to take over and kind of go through some of the Fips? I could show them here, or do you want to share anything? Or
Sure. If you can let me share, I'll just kind of go through a couple of screens here. So let's see. So this is the latest Fip view. I think the kind of the two ones that were on your list there, Eric, that I think are worth mentioning is the Fip 32, which is the unlimited size of the content parameter in new funds requests. So the thinking there is, and the reason we did this is so that we can actually support Lightning invoices using the FIO request. And those can be pretty long. So previously we kind of had that field primarily intended to capture the public address, but the invoice could be a little bit longer. So once we expand that, we'll actually be able to support Lightning FIO requests, which I think would be pretty cool to see adopted in the FIO protocol. And also FIP33 is just a small change to the token format to capture the $sign, which is now being used by some tokens as part of their code. And that actually leads me to FIP 15, which is, for those of you who don't remember, FIP 15 is basically the standard for coding chain codes and token codes that we rolled out a while ago last year. And it was really intended to kind of set the initial list for all of the token codes that are being used in the industry. Initially, when we rolled out FIO protocol, our thinking was that we're not necessarily going to enforce any particular standard for how do you call Ethereum ETH and how do you call Bitcoin BTC and things like that. But it turned out that there is just so much ambiguity in that regards that many of the wallets were coming back to us and saying, hey, please put together a list of how we should call things because it's super hard to try to kind of coordinate that and figure out, what the other wallet is going to think a particular code means when you're either doing a mapping of a FIO address to a public address or doing a FIO request for a specific currency. So I've actually just last week went through and kind of tried to create an initial version of all the possible token and chain codes that are out there. So I looked at CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, Slip44, and some of the stuff that some of the exchanges have been feeding us, and basically created two lists, which is a list of token chain codes that basically, identifies the chain, the name, if there are any multi-level addressing parameters that are being supported, like memo fields and things like that, and also referencing the Slip44 index. And then I've also done that for different token codes. So we now have a list of over 6,000 token codes, and including for many of them actual contract addressing on the different chain. And the reason I'm saying this is because I think what we need to do as an industry is really try to rally around a particular standard in terms of how we call things. It's just, when I was looking at this, it's just mind blowing how different it is and how different people call things differently. And obviously, if you're trying to do transactions from one wallet to the other, it is like paramount that we agree on, how we code a particular chain and how we code a particular token. Otherwise, you might be getting something totally different than you think. So I'll be looking for your guys' support in terms of kind of promoting that standard to the community, and also potentially updating it. So I'm not saying it's perfect. It's definitely an initial stab at it, and is probably still missing things. There might still be some things that are incorrect, but if you can kind of here's a link to that FIP 15 that kind of has all that references in there. If you can kind of keep that in mind as you're out there in the industry talking to people, hopefully we will get some more traction, and people are actually going to start using common coding, which I think would help everybody. And then the other thing that we're currently working on that I wanted to chat about briefly is push notification infrastructure. So the primary kind of need here has been around how do we make sure that all the different integrators that have integrated to FIO protocol, wallets, exchanges, actually have FIO protocol notifications. So for example, if I get a new FIO request, I would like my phone to go off and say, hey, you have a new FIO request. Why don't you come in and respond to it? Or look, you have a new payment, or the FIO request you've sent has been rejected by somebody or has been paid by somebody, whatever the case might be. And so we're kind of in this early stage right now and trying to figure out what could we as the foundation do to make the implementation of notifications inside wallets easier. So we've been talking to a few wallets. We have some feedback here from Tribe, from Garda, from Koinomi, from Edge, in terms of what they do and whatever they think any type of an infrastructure would be helpful. Like we're thinking of what if there was like a notification service that we would build where you can basically come in and subscribe and say, hey, I have this FIO address. Please let me know anytime there is a new FIO request, and we would basically push that notification out as soon as we see that. So what I'm looking for here is you guys are obviously have a lot of experience with that type of infrastructure components. If you can take a look at this document, I'm just posting a link here, and kind of review that, review our thinking, review what some of the wallets are saying. And if you have any ideas in terms of what we should do to make it easier for wallets to integrate notifications, maybe there are some third-party platforms that that are being used by wallets that we could integrate with, all that feedback would be super helpful for us. I think that's all I have. Any questions on any of that?
I was just going to comment, Pavel, I did get a chance to talk with Paul in, I guess it would be Miami. Is that right? Yeah, at the Miami conference about this notification stuff. And he kind of explained some interesting stuff I hadn't thought about, where in their wallet, for example, they always separate out the identity from the actual wallet addresses, so that you can never take like an Edge login, for example, and connect it in any way to any specific set of public keys. And they do that from a security perspective, but it actually creates a situation where things are a little weird in that you can't provide a notification to an account if it's related to a public key. So we actually started thinking and brainstorming a bit about a separate service that would be specifically like a notification service that could be done in kind of a different way. But yeah, I would love to get feedback from, I know there's a lot of our block producers are working with various, full history-esque type notification systems. I think what we may need to do is just kind of craft something and put it out there to say, hey, here's one way you can do it, just to get the information from the chain. And then once you have that, like he was saying, you could subscribe to like a WebSockets or something like that. I think that would make sense, but we have to figure out the per wallet solution. And that's kind of what we were afraid of. And that's what he was kind of confirming, is that each wallet might have a different way they do notifications.
Yeah, that's kind of the initial feedback I'm getting, and I did talk to Paul. It's actually documented on this page here as well in terms of how they do it and why in their specific case, basically not a lot of hope in the near future that they can implement that. But I agree. Please, if you have more information about it, what is the best approach here, best strategy, please let us know.
Thanks for showing those notes. For some reason, I thought we hadn't had a chance to talk to him, so I was happy to connect with him. He did mention the idea that you could do like iOS has this like once a day thing where it can kind of have this background refresh. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see what ends up working.
Any other questions?
Are there next steps for kind of promoting that list that you put together, Pablo? I think it's a really great list and could be really helpful for the industry. I think maybe we should do some marketing on that or something, just kind of let the world know, hey, did you know there's a standard? Well, we made one.
Yeah, I know Ash is thinking about it. So yeah, I think there are some plans around that.
Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Oh, sorry. Yes, I was just agreeing with you, but I was on mute. Sorry about that.
Awesome. Well, that's it for me, Eric.
Thanks, Pavel. Actually, I did have one more thing, and it's mainly just a kind of appreciation of the feedback I got on that. I sent out the Kiosk D, or what we call the Fio wallet, and the use of that in production to hold tens of thousands of keys may not be the best idea. I think the general consensus was that it's a great wallet for obviously development, and we do label it as a development tool in our dev hub, but useful for Clio and other tasks, but that we don't really want to be in the wallet business, A, and B, we don't want to be in the wallet business of kind of affirming that a wallet like Kiosk is the way to go to manage if you have a large number of Fio keys and things like that. But good feedback. I added that to a wiki as well. I'll be reviewing that with the internal team to see what the next steps are, but appreciate that. I think for next one, I don't know if David or anyone else or Luke has anything else on updates of any goings on that might be helpful for the group.
I don't have anything specific, but I just, again, wanted to share my appreciation to the block producer team. It was great to connect with some of you at the different conferences I've been at. I was in Miami and New York. And one of the conversations I had, I think it was with a team member from EOS Detroit, the idea of kind of rethinking about the Officer of the Inspector General concept that we had talked about more than a year ago, that had been kind of pioneered on Wax and thought about as far as EOSIO chains and DPoS and all that. And so I see we got some people from Detroit on the call today as well. I definitely would like to see that conversation going and just essentially kind of more kind of pioneering from the block producer crew directly. Like we've mentioned, Hey Fio, we've mentioned the domain marketplace. This is another initiative that would kind of be run by the block producers to kind of create a governance model for how the VPs would kind of report on the progress that they're making for their performance and security running their nodes. And I just want to continually reiterate that that's what we need to grow this ecosystem is just more than just the foundation spearheading things. But on top of that too, I want to reiterate that the Fio chain is a little bit different than a lot of the other EOSIO chains out there that, in terms of we're not block one. We have funding, we have bounties, and we have different things that we want to help. And there is no limitation if you happen to be a block producer or not. If you're adding value to the community and you need to get funding for something that you want to build, please, by all means, submit a proposal and work with our team on that. And we would love to see that happen. And we'd love to see the community treasury go towards that happening. That is our, calling as a nonprofit organization. That's what we're meant to do. So we'd love to hear from you all as you have ideas to help promote Fio, help grow the Fio ecosystem, help work with the dashboard that's coming out, different marketing activities. I mean, the whole range of things that can be done. And I want to give a shout out to like Everstate, for example. They've been phenomenal at doing a lot of social media and blogging and providing educational content. So all that stuff is needed. And Ash here on the call would be happy to connect with you all. She's head of marketing. We've got a growing team on the marketing side to help you as well. So just let us know if you've got ideas. We definitely would like to help support those financially. And our biggest thing is just time. Obviously, we've got a limited amount of team members. We're growing the team all the time. But being able to have you guys spearhead stuff and develop stuff. We've also learned a little bit too that like with for example, the domain marketplace, which has system contract deployments, that it's really helpful to have your devs directly involved with our devs. So for example, Thomas has been on the daily stand-ups with our team. That's been really helpful. Our team's been able to help a lot with the kind of bug testing of the smart contracts. Everything on Fio is a system contract. So their domain marketplace contracts are no exception. And that's been really helpful. We learned a lot through that. So if you have stuff you're working on or things you want, have some ideas for FIO, definitely let us know. We're always there in Telegram, but more active, of course, in our own Discord. So we'd love to see you all in there as well. But it just, excited to see where we're going. And also, I know you guys have been following the latest with EOSIO, with Brock Pierce and Helios, and that major investment of tokens that he made, and the clear indication that they want to help support EOSIO and EOS. So obviously, I'm in the middle of those conversations, as many of you know. I've been on the first calls with Brock, and I actually just found out we got another one scheduled for Friday, I think. So yeah, that's moving forward, and we're pretty excited about it. We feel personally, as far as FIO goes, this might be a moment we've all been waiting for like EOSIO chains like ours to get some recognition in the world and actually get some, some support. So pretty exciting times for all the EOSIO chains, and it's pretty cool, especially for those who've been there from the beginning, like many I know of you have, joining us on this crazy wild EOSIO trip. And here we are. We finally have a chance to do something interesting. So appreciate all your support.
Thanks, Luke. Anything else, like, to open it up to the floor here? Anyone else have anything they want to discuss, bring up, laugh about, anything? It's a quiet group today. It's a Wednesday. All right. Well, I will then, let's see. I appreciate everyone coming out. I'm going to stop the recording then right now.